doesn't end well unless it ends. Can't just report the fucking obvious.
I don't care what a critic got to say, I got them picking up the pieces. That mean you really playing with your life, I'm about to come and
Just
run
a
it all back.
motherfucking
I'm the
jump.
new era, about to
Just
snap
go.
back. You ain't fitting.
And welcome. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy. And the other fucking guy who is also ready to go is Leo. Leo, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How are
All
you?
right. All right.
Yeah.
Ready for the weekend?
Gotta love Fridays, man. Gotta love Fridays.
I love every day. So
That's fair.
every day is Monday. Every day is Friday in my life. All good days. So, man, we're just going to jump into it. There's so much happening right now that we want to get to, starting with the NBA scandal. And I saw first I was behind because I was just madly busy yesterday with clients. And I did see a post, somebody talking about basketball being rigged. Now we know. They weren't exactly right. You know, there is the NBA itself. I'm sorry, I'm not that tinfoil hat conspirator that believing that the NBA itself is rigging games, that they're making things happen, that there's too many people that have to be involved, and it's a very hard thing. And that stuff just doesn't work. It just doesn't. Where we've seen in the past, I believe his name was Tim. There was a documentary about Tim. He was a referee. It was one of the bigger cases regarding throwing games and stuff. Can you find Tim? Who was the referee, Tim? I think he wrote a book too. Like I said, there's a documentary. I just can't remember his last name. But he knows a little bit about this because he actually did it and was involved in it. I don't remember what made him do it, but if you got to understand how the mob works.
Tim Donaghy?
Is it Donaghy?
Donaghy.
Yeah, that sounds like it. Yeah, that sounds like it. Tim Donaghy. This was, I don't know, what was that, 15 years ago or something like that? It was a minute ago. I don't
20. Oh no, it was released in 2020.
yeah. I don't know exactly when. It actually happened, yeah. Yeah, see, it was
07.
07. So, yeah, 15 years ago plus, around there. That was a big, big story back then. And how did somebody get caught up in this? There's a number of ways, and we have two different situations here that are going on. You have, in one essence, you have someone, and that someone being Chauncey Billups, who's an NBA Hall of Famer, was a member of the great Pistons teams. It's very, very shocked about that. And he made a decent amount of money in his career. Not the kind of money they're making today, but decent. And he's also a coach for the Portland Trail Blazers. So he's making, I don't know what his contract was. Look up what Chauncey Billups' contract is for the Portland Trail Blazers. So I don't know. We'll know that in just a second. Look that up. He's doing well. Yeah, you have the taxes. You have to give that to the government. But he's still living well. You should be able to live pretty well, netting $5 million after taxes. You should be able to live a pretty good fucking life, I think. Mine's a little lower than that.
Approximately 4.7 million.
Well, Portland isn't that good, so that's probably why. Okay, but still, so he ends up with $3 million, and that's besides whatever money he made and had left after his playing career was done, right? So he's probably more at the bottom of the league salaries. Better coaches will make more than that for sure. But I wonder if he got involved in gambling himself and got involved with the mob and maybe owed them a little bit of money. And they're like, hey, we can help you out with this if you help us out. Another way you can pay this debt is maybe you help us out with some information. Or in this case, it was rigging. We don't know that for games. We know it for poker games. He was bringing other NBA players and people, well-known people, to the table. And it was, I had no idea how much you could cheat in a poker game. I have no idea. They actually have contacts. So, and those contacts allowed them to read the cards, like marked cards, like maybe in the design on the back of the card, and they could read that, and the contacts helped them do that. There was a shuffling machine that helped them with that. And then there were, they were getting signals and had hand signals, and somebody was also doing some kind of x-ray reading of the cards and passing that along, and going so far as even crazy that, you can't win every hand. It doesn't look good, right, on a regular basis, but throwing hands. But they said that really wasn't an issue, that the people didn't mind losing to Chauncey Billups because they were starstruck, apparently. And again, I don't know how many, but you're talking, I don't know what they make in a game like that with big ballers, 500,000, 300,000. I don't know.
I have no idea.
But they used to have an illegal game they used to run. It was a big game in The Sopranos that got handed down in the family, and they made good money with those games. So it's kind of like that. Some of that shit, you say, oh, it's just TV. Yeah, some of it's, true. And I know that to be the case because it's kind of like the biker shows. There's some biker shows that are actually, fairly on point. Sons of Anarchy, I experienced that life except for killing people. That is the other things. Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot like that. There were definitely similar things. I always use the example of, like, in the beginning of Sons of Anarchy, they're going into a meeting and they all throw their phones into like a box before they go into the meeting. And that kind of shit really happens. We would do that. You wouldn't have your phone on you, so nobody could tap or find a way to listen in or do that kind of stuff. That's a legit, real thing. So, they try to get details like that, right? It's what makes shows good when they're able to do that. So, and there was one part in the show where what they would do is, so this guy that grew up with Tony, he, big gambler, had a gambling problem, brought him in, and then ended up loaning him money. And the guy's like, hey, why'd you let me do this? He's like, dude, this is what I do. This is how I work. And so Tony became partners in the business. They ran a bunch of scams through the business. They would order shit and then sell it on the street and then not pay the bills. And eventually he went bankrupt, right? But that's how they get under your control, right? That's how somebody like this gets under their control. So otherwise, I don't understand how he got involved. That will be interesting to find out. It's going to be some really good stuff. What happened? Now, as far as some other players and people, you have people that were actually involved in games. And we've heard this kind of thing before, where with the player props and stuff. And that's what's going on. Do you know who Terry Rozier is? Okay. But you watch a little bit of basketball? Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
Right. And so do I. I've been watching more, but whatever. I really wasn't familiar with him. He plays for the Miami Heat. And his contract, he had a 4-year contract, and I think he was in the final year of it, that for $26 million. It's like a veteran amount that you get, But $100 million over 4 years. And then you got, of course, your fees to the agent. And then you're going to have your, investment fees and taxes. So it's probably pretty fair to say that you're going to end up with half of that. That's 50 million, which is a lot of money over a 4-year period of time. And again, I don't know. That's just the last 4 years. I don't know how much he's made in total before that. But so there's other monies that have been made. And I don't know what his spending habits are or anything like that. But it just, can you think of, how much money are you going to make? And I've heard numbers like 200,000 thrown about for doing something that, or maybe 50,000 here for this game. I don't know. That seems crazy to me when you're making the kind of bank this Terry Rozier is. Now, I understand why the mob people do what they do. Okay, that's how they earn. Okay, they don't have these big guaranteed contracts. They got to earn. Okay, that's how it is. But to get involved in this, where you're doing things like player props. So, and I'm big on player props in my betting that I like to do. So what it would be like, you can't control the over, right? If you're a player, you can't say, I can guarantee you I'm going to get this many assists or this many rebounds in this game. I mean, you could try to do it, and maybe being focused, that extra effort would help, but you can't guarantee that. But you know what you can guarantee someone? The under. You can guarantee them the under. And maybe if things are getting a little too close, you go down with an injury during the game, so you're taken out, and they take you back, and you finished with 7 rebounds, and the over-under was at 9. 9 plus, usually how that works. So it's a guarantee. But they have systems now. The NBA, since they've allowed people, not players to gamble, but since gambling has taken an even larger legal role with the online versus just in casinos and is just blown up. I mean, there are whole shows, just like you have shows that are based on fantasy football leagues. You have shows, and it's been a thing for a while. You have shows that are about, picking the overs, the unders, points. I mean, where people give their predictions. I guess some people listen to them. I don't really do that myself. I do my own, and I seem to do okay. But what I'm doing is chump change. These guys are not doing chump change. But when it's multiple on a game, when you have a player that, again, isn't a star player, he's a middling player, not one of your top 2 or 3, but he's a starting player. When you have that guy fall under, or like it looks like there's a lot of money bet on him, and it's unusual money that usually, there's not that many bets. And with AI and stuff now, they can really track all that shit and investigate it. And that's how people have gotten busted betting on games. We've had players suspended from the NBA for betting on professional sports, which they're not allowed to do. So but that's how they pick up things now, by flows. And it would be highly unusual for this player to have this kind of money put on a particular player prop that comes through, and then it just doesn't happen once. You start to see a pattern with this player. I'm sure that's how they picked it up. And we'll hear more and more stuff about that. Because if you think the mob is smart, they're not always as smart as you think they are. Dawn and I, I love mob stuff anyways. And Dawn and I watched a documentary, I think it's a fairly new documentary, about the Philadelphia, versus the New York mob, basically.
Okay.
And how important the Philadelphia mob was, because you really don't hear about those guys as much. You always hear about New York and the 5 families in New York and that kind of thing. But it gave through this history where it's on Netflix, where they're talking about, how somebody took over a younger group and taking people out. And there was one guy who's a bad dude that killed a bunch of people. And he talks about it. But this dude isn't smart. Because at one time, they went and did something, and they had a white Taurus, I believe. But and they burned it. And then he left change in there that had his fingerprints on it, and he actually burned his hand because they were lighting the car on fire, and the other dude lit the car on fire before he could get the change off, and he also had some fluid on his hands, so his hands caught on fire. And then eventually, they find it, right, and they trace it back to another known member of the mob. And besides that, they went and checked the hospitals to see if anybody had any burns, right? And he just happened to go there. He didn't go there right away, but it wasn't healing. It was getting bad. So he tried to he started another fire in his barbecue. Now, wait till you hear the end of this. So he lights it on fire, catches himself on fire, starts screaming so that the neighbor sees it, and the neighbor eventually does see it. And then he goes and gets help, and he thinks that's his alibi, as the neighbor saw him get this on fire. You know what the problem was? It was an electric grill. So he put fluid and lit it on fire on an electric grill. Gas grill. That's just dumb as fuck, dude. So they're not always smart. And it was just funny. And he says he's not smart. But it's a great documentary. You might want to watch it. The dude at another point got shot multiple times, like 3 times in the head. The bullets bounced off. And he even got shot once in the back. The dude lived and attacked the 2 people that shot him. He literally got shot. Dude, yes. Nobody knew how this could happen, like how he could survive. He got shot in the fucking skull, and he lived. They didn't penetrate, apparently. I don't know what size caliber bullet it was.
22 or something.
I don't know. But come on, man, even a 22. You know what? Your 22 is going to rattle around in your head. It might not blow a chunk off, but it's going to rattle around inside there. I don't know. I just thought it was crazy, but they're not always that smart. But apparently some NBA players are even dumber. I just don't understand what the motivation is when you have that kind of money to do that. You know, is it greed? I don't know. Is it just the thrill of doing something illegal? Honestly, I don't know. I mean, at that level, and maybe it's no different. Now, some people have been talking about addiction, and I know a little bit about addiction, being an alcoholic and addict. And that's never an excuse. So when people try to use that as an excuse to understand these people that are involved in this, that's just total bullshit. Total bullshit. That's not a thing. You're responsible for what you do no matter what. And you have to own that to get better to deal with the addiction, that it's on you. It may be a real issue, like I don't think it's a disease like I think alcoholism is, and people argue about that. But I think what people most object to is they object to people who use their addiction as an excuse. And you just can't do that. You know, that person, that addict has to, for them to get better, they have to come to realize that the problem is them, that they're the issue. And then they can go about fixing that. So I just don't know. It's just a lot of money, man. That's a lot of money to throw away. So, I mean, the NBA just opened up this week. We only had like our second set of games last night, I think. So just starting. So that $26 million he's getting, I'm pretty sure he's not going to get that. I'm sure that'll violate some part of his contract. Even if it's guaranteed money, I don't think he's getting paid. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see. So from that, then, people have been commenting. It blew up all yesterday across everywhere. People commenting, I love to listen to, and I didn't last night, but I love listening to Shaq and Barkley and Kenny, and, I love listening to those guys. And definitely Barkley was not happy with the whole thing. But I don't think that means, like a bunch of people were saying online, that the NBA is rigged as a whole. Who's going to win a particular, maybe a game they can do that, but who's going to come out on top for a season, or that it's staged or choreographed like the wrestling is. That's not the case. You have to have a serious tinfoil hat for that kind of shit. I just don't believe that at all. I do believe that, you're going to have, we've seen it before, that you're going to, I don't know how deep it goes, that you're going to have people that are going to, shave points, or again, like, do what they can on the side of not doing well, of like on the downside, as I said, the player prop. They're going to come out on the underside. That is what they control. So that's the main side to focus on when they're probably doing these investigations. And there's probably more to come, because you're going to have some of these. I don't know. Do you think Terry Rozier, do you really seriously think he didn't make an oath to the mob? So do you seriously think, he may be worried about getting killed, but do you seriously think he wants to do 20 years? I don't know. I'm guessing these guys are going to cooperate. They're going to get time, but they're going to cooperate. So that's going to take this investigation even deeper. And it is a deal, all sports. And it was just announced. I think that's kind of crazy, too, that it was just announced this week. I'm not sure if you saw this or not, Leo, but they're going to allow college athletes, coaches, and people related to that, they can now bet on professional sports. So if you're a college basketball player on the UNC team, you're going to be able to, you can't bet on college games, but you can bet on professional games. I don't know how smart that is. And the timing of the announcement, probably isn't good, although that was announced before this happened. But still, you have to wonder. You really do. It's, let me hit their button.
As long as it's, like you said, you're not betting on your own games, I don't see why there's an issue with that. To be honest, it's definitely going to entice people to do some shady stuff, but that's what the feds are for, right?
Yeah, but I don't know how much you want to entice them. I don't know.
Obviously people are going to do it anyways, as we can see.
Yeah, as we can see, getting caught. We'll see how deep this goes. One thing that is pretty crazy, though, that is Stephen A. Smith had a take on this, and I don't understand why people have to connect everything to Trump. And in fact, I would bet, I haven't found yet, because I did some background stuff, but the one background thing I missed, and I don't even know if it's been reported, but you could ask ChatGPT this if you want to, Leo, since I didn't do it. Ask it, did the investigation of the basketball fixing start before Trump became president? That's what I want to know. Did the FBI, because some the things that were being investigated were 2-3 years ago, for games and stuff. But when did do we know when the investigation started? And we're looking at, 21 for Trump, or did the current investigation that was announced yesterday, when did that start? And there's got to be more games than 7 games because that's just not enough to make money. Is when it started? Well, that's where the wider thread of federal investigations into both the NBA and college games linked to a gambling ring shows activity. Does that mean investigation activity? Well, it is answering the question. It did start before Trump. And I'm just bringing that point up because we can watch this Stephen A. Smith clip, which the guy's pretty smart, but this is not one of the smartest things that he's ever said. Go ahead and play that.
Involving Tim Donaghy, the former referee for the NBA. You didn't see the director of the FBI having a press conference about it. But that's what we saw this morning. And to me, it comes down to this. Trump is coming. He's coming. It's not hyperbolic. It's not hyperbole. I'm dead serious. He's coming for the National Football League. Why you think this whole Bad Bunny thing and the Super Bowl halftime show is an issue? The NBA, and conveniently, this comes down the pike after opening night for the NBA season on ESPN. The veracity and the substance of the case itself, that has to be determined, and that has to bear out. And we have to keep our eyes and ears to the grind about that to decipher, how significant this is. But there's no question that it's serious. And if you're talking about an illegal gambling operation that was taking place, whether it be poker games or anything else, don't just look at the players. Look at who they're connected to. As a person who loves the NBA, who loves Adam Silver, who had love for David Stern, God rest his soul, who knows an abundance of people associated with the NBA, I know that there's no way, in my heart of hearts, I firmly believe, there's no way they would be remotely associated with such a thing. They take these things very seriously. But when it comes to Trump, this is not about that. This is about the integrity of the league. This is about impugning their integrity. This is about making things a bit messy and inconvenient. And whoever has to suffer, so be it. And why? Because people came after him. I've said before, vengeance, retribution. The man ain't playing. And this is not me casting aspersions, making judgment, or doing anything on anybody's side. I'm just telling you what I know. The man ain't playing. It's not like some superstar was named in all of this, y'all. This is Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier. But it didn't stop them from having a press conference at 10 a.m. to make sure that ABC had it, and First Take had it, and the sports world had it, to let you know what's coming down the pike. Because he's coming. Don't kill the messenger. I'm just giving you the message. I'm telling you what I know, meaning what has been told to me. Not by him, because I don't talk to him, and I don't agree with him, and I didn't vote for him. But you must understand, this is the climate. He ain't messing around.
So, first of all, I got to say that, look, what these guys did was illegal and wrong in a big way. And there are, tiers to how bad illegal things are. This is a really bad one. And the idea that, that Trump is targeting, you know what? He's given his opinion on kneeling. Or he's given his opinion about who might be at a halftime show, or, what the name of a team should be. But this dude has too much on his plate to think that somehow that Trump is ratcheted things up. Again, I think it was, we just researched it, that this started before Trump. Now, did they put more effort into it after Trump? I don't know, became president. But that he's just trying to get vengeance on who? He's trying to get vengeance on Terry Rozier? Is he trying to take it out on the NBA? I think that's a deflection, and a bad deflection, to put this on Trump is coming for you. Trump's coming for some people, for sure. It ain't this. The dude is right now, he's trying to keep the effort in Gaza, in Israel. He's trying to keep that on track because Hamas is trying to derail it, which is all fucked up. And it's going to end up bad if that goes that direction. It really is. It's super, super dumb. But it can't be allowed to have Hamas continue in a governing position. That just can't be a thing. And a lot of people agree on that. So Trump really has things lined up there. That he cares about that. He's got economy issues. He's got the issue of getting the government back open. He's got so many things that he does at the same time. I'm sorry. This is a big deal for the FBI because you really haven't heard about the FBI taking down. There were 30 individuals, as I read it, arrested. Only a few of them were related to the NBA. The others were related to the mob. And I don't know. Like I said, Trump did business with the mob before. So I don't know how direct it was, if he had actual conversations or his people did, but you do not build motherfucking shit in New York, and you certainly didn't in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s. You didn't build shit that the mob wasn't involved in. That's just a fact. I mean, read anything about the Gambino crime family. Anything. They were one of the strongest players in controlling the unions and controlling construction. It was just huge. And to build something, you had to do business with them. That's just a fact. So I don't know that Trump has. Yeah, he seems to have an issue with drugs in another country and shooting up speedboats. I don't really care about. I'm okay with it. Some people aren't. But do I think that he has something up his ass about, going after the mafia? No, but the FBI does. And the FBI wants to look strong. And because the FBI has taken some hits on some other things, like the Epstein files, they did something and they want to direct attention to it. Hey, look, this is what we're doing. But the Trump administration has done that from day one. All of these different departments you hardly ever hear from, the heads of secretaries of those departments have been making press conferences and making announcements more than we ever saw before. And not necessarily because they're maybe doing more than what other people did in the past. The other people just didn't use the media the way that Trump uses the media. Trump is just smarter about it. And why wouldn't you want to do that? Because if you don't control the narrative, it will be controlled for you. And everybody distrusts everybody now. And there's so many outlets for information that it's hard to get people on the same page. And that helps to create chaos. And it's never going back. That genie is out of the bottle now. And somehow we have to figure this all out. And we'll, I don't know how it's going to play out. I just know we got to find a way because we are so disconnected with our fellow Americans right now. It's big. But I just think that's absolutely crazy for him to bring up Trump in this situation. I don't think Trump gives two fucking cents about this. If you ask him about it, I'm sure he'll have a response, but had some kind of direct involvement because he wanted some kind of vengeance on who? Chauncey Billups. Did Chauncey Billups make a X post where he criticized Trump? Lots of people have done that. And I don't know that he has. There's other coaches. I've seen other coaches. The coach for the Golden State Warriors, the coach for the Spurs, they're big-time liberals that like to throw out their opinion all the time. So if he was going to target a team or people, like, why wouldn't it be them, the ones that have been most vocal against him? I just think it's dumb to bring up Trump into this, and we'll see where it goes. It's really huge. I mean, obviously, it's a really big scandal, and the first one this big in quite a while that I remember. And I think it's going to stay big because of how big gambling is right now. Gambling has grown tremendously over the last 10 years, and with the online gambling, and the leagues benefit and profit off the online gambling too. They get more eyeballs watching because I'm going to pay attention to a game that I wouldn't ordinarily pay attention to if I bet on it. So there's a huge connection between all of this. And I don't think the NBA, I mean, they don't want the people that are betting like me. Do you bet? You bet a little, don't you? But not maybe on NBA, or you don't bet at all?
I try not to bet. I like
we
more of a
talked about that
more
before.
Of a poker person.
Yeah, you told me that. I forgot. Yeah. I like poker too, but
yeah,
I
like being involved a little bit more in my gambling than just sitting and watching.
Well, I tell you what, I'd want to know that I was in a poker game with friends that I trusted, just messing around, because after seeing the kind of technology they used for these games, to go into a bigger game with people who are putting the game on that you don't know or how far they're willing to go, damn, man, that shit can be stacked against you hard.
That's what kind of makes it a little bit more interesting, though. I don't know. Maybe
What do you mean? But you wouldn't want to be in a game like that because the chances of you winning would be slim.
I don't know. Maybe I watch too many movies, but I don't know. Because, like, to me, poker is more of reading people than it is the cards. So I mean, I find that interesting. Trying to see,
if you know what everybody else has,
mm-hmm.
it makes it a lot easier to fold. So you're not.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like those are things that you'd be able to pick up. No, but I get what you're saying, that I definitely prefer to play with someone else. But
I would not want to go into a game after seeing what they do like this here. Yeah, I wouldn't trust shit, man.
Oh, no, I don't trust shit in the first place, even before this came out. So.
Yeah, but this is like, I didn't know that they had shuffling machines that could make things work out a certain way.
Oh, we got all kinds of technology.
That's crazy, dude. Yeah.
No, but the type of cheating I'm used to is you'll bend corners or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. That's low-level bullshit.
That anyone can see,
Right, exactly. Totally different than what this is. And I don't think they want the public isn't going to think, or I'm not going to think I have a fair chance, especially someone like me who likes to do player props, if I think that, okay, I lost. This guy typically averages 12 rebounds a game, and that's not happening. Was it because he really didn't get the rebounds? Was it because he didn't give it the effort? Or was it because he was making money on the side by throwing it? You know what I mean?
Almost sure this has definitely been a thing for a very long time.
Well, I think, but it's not been as prominent or where you're thinking about it. I wasn't thinking about it.
I don't
certainly.
know. I don't know. Maybe because
when I bet, I'm not even thinking about, man, what if they have money on this game and they're going to try to,
I always have that mentality. I feel like that's why I don't like sports betting, because of that specific. Because I know.
Okay, but then that's money they're not getting. And the more people that think like you, that's less money for them.
Exactly.
And people who are betting like me, if I think that the deck is not at least fair, I want it to be a 50-50 chance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if I feel like it's 55, 45, 60, 40 them, then that's not cool. Why would I waste my
but
money on that?
Sports betting is slightly different, right? Because there is no 60-40, 30-60. There's a 100% chance if they're involved in a scandal. There's a 100% chance you are not getting the over, or because like that's the whole thing, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's what I said. Yeah,
no, that's I because there's historically there's been,
but they can't have that perception, and they can't have that perception that if it shows that there's many more people involved in this, which I believe there are.
Sure there is.
But they want to contain this as much as possible.
I don't think they'll be able to.
I don't know.
Because
I don't think so either. It's going to be huge.
In my opinion, it's probably involved so many people in the NBA that if they were to crack down on it, we would have no NBA. Probably to that extent.
And now, are they going to look at the WNBA? Are they looking at the NFL?
Oh, they're going to
college.
Look
I'm just saying this is going to explode, and people ratting on each other. That's what's going to. Nobody wants to do time, man. That's not a thing. Nobody's like volunteering for that shit. So if they can cut that time down, they'll definitely be doing it. So but huge. But the bringing the president into it like he's coming after him, that's just stupid. The president's not coming after people like it for things like this. In the political world, totally different. Totally different. And the NFL didn't really listen to Trump. The situation, Trump made some comments about Bad Bunny. They're not changing. Bad Bunny, in fact, he even came out and said, like, no, we do a whole bunch of shit, and we're not changing. This is one of the biggest acts in the world, and, this is carefully planned out. We're not changing. So Trump can say what he wants, and maybe just by voicing it, and he gets some points with some of his supporters, then, I don't know how advantageous that even is, because Trump really doesn't care this time around. There's not another term that he has to worry about. What he cares about is his legacy. He cares about what he leaves. And I do believe he wants to fix as much as possible. But like the plane, accepting that plane from Qatar, he's not going to, if he gets to use that plane at all, it'll be for a very short period of time. And then the next president is going to enjoy that. Because it's taken them so long and they're over budget on the planes that the new planes they were supposed to have for the president. And see, Trump's known for getting shit done. See, one of the biggest things, and it's something you're probably not aware of, but was a huge thing when it happened back, I think it was in the 80s, they kept trying to reopen the skating rink in New York. It was a big deal. And I don't know how much they spent before Trump took it over, but they could never get it fixed. They hired people, spent money, and never got a rink. Just kind of like that we've given money to California for rail service, and that rail hasn't even been built, and spent $1 billion, And then Trump came in and showed what a private person could do. And I think that rink was fixed up and redone, everything in less than a year. And people loved him for it. New York loved him for it because it was a key thing for Christmas, in New York City. To have the rink opened, the tree, it was huge. Just huge. So he's good at that kind of stuff, just like with the ballroom. And to be able to do it and not use funds, because every other renovation that's ever been done has used government funds to do it. This is the first time they're doing some kind of renovation and where it's not. And look, for whatever you think about the dude, he's not going to use shit materials. He's not going to, I don't know. It's going to be nice. His buildings are fucking nice, man. The casinos he built were nice. I mean, they were very, very extravagant, It's going to be good. And other people are going to enjoy it because how much is he going to get to enjoy it? If he gets to enjoy a year of it, that'll be really good. But I think they'll build it much faster and on budget much better because he's going to want to brag about that. He will. But he's leaving something that will be something he did long after he's gone, that he did this to the White House. And it's a wing of the White House. It's not the actual White House itself. You know, it's really spread out. And it's way the fuck over here, right? So he wants to make a legacy. He wants to be remembered for stuff. He wants to be remembered as the president who brought peace to the Middle East that other people failed at, or whatever big thing he can get done. He wants to be known for that. And if that's because he's a narcissist, so be it. We still benefit from that shit. So I really don't care about his motivation. And I don't think I think he's egotistical. I think he's a lot of things you can say in that realm, but I don't agree with the narcissist that people say. I think it's all the other words you can use that are much more accurate, because a narcissist doesn't care. A narcissist only cares about himself. And I just don't believe that Trump only cares about himself. He does care about himself, but that's not to the exclusion of doing things for other people, doing the right thing, and being remembered. He wants it to be where it's almost impossible because there are a whole bunch of presidents, right, that we don't ever hardly talk about. We talk about Kennedy, we talk about Reagan, we talk about FDR, we talk about the recent ones. But of the first 10 presidents, who do we talk about of the first 10? George Washington?
Lincoln.
Yeah, Lincoln was probably 10. I don't know what number president was Lincoln. I don't even know.
10. I think either 9 or 10. I really don't know.
Okay, but Lincoln. And then there's another big gap, right? Like, who?
Like Taft and Roosevelt.
Roosevelt probably.
Oh, he was a president.
Yeah.
Who was the guy on the bill that wasn't even a president? Because wasn't that like a whole, I don't know. Maybe I'm going off topic.
That's okay. Is that?
No, we were just having a conversation about like who's on the bills and whatever.
Is Ben Franklin's on the $100 bill, right?
Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah, because we call him Benjamin,
yes.
right? I mean, here. Yeah. He wasn't, that's the one. He wasn't president. He was a founding father, but he was never president. You believe what? You believe what, man?
I was just talking about
Dude,
this with
I'm
someone.
100% fucking sure Ben Franklin wasn't president, brother.
There was two people.
Is there another one?
There's two people that have faces on U.S. currency that were not president.
I thought Jackson was president, though. I could be wrong about Jackson. Because we don't talk about him, dude. You know what I'm saying? That's my whole point. Trump wants to be a president that is talked about 100 years from now. When you talk about the history of this country,
he'll be
you have to mention him.
He will 100%.
No, he wants to be.
About. Whether it's in a good or a bad way.
Exactly,
that's
but
yet to
he
be
does want that to be in a
decided.
good way. Yeah, there'll be people that, but it's going to be hard to deny him that if the Middle East peace holds and stands. You can't not give him right, but you can't not give him credit if it does.
Happens. Correct.
Well, he's at least trying to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean,
it's better than
trying is good.
Well, they all tried. Most of them failed. Nobody's ever come this far, and he made progress. Like I said, with the accords in his previous administration, he's made progress that other people haven't made.
For sure, but until peace happens, there's a big but, actually.
No.
There's a huge but.
But that's such, man, you got to change your mindset, man. That is not a good mindset, man.
No, I don't know. It's for me, it's hard to put faith in government, especially that high up. I've watched too many conspiracies. I've watched too many movies.
Watch it too much. Yeah, that's
It's hard to trust. It's hard to trust people in power.
well, that we do have an issue with.
It's just
We
that
do.
simple. Yeah. Whether or not your
People
intentions are
don't
fully
trust.
good or bad, like it's very hard to trust. Too many secrets, too many lies. Whether or not it's coming directly from this person or that person, I just group them all together and just avoid it all. Make it nice and easy.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that.
Fair. That's why you do
I
most of
don't-
the
that's
talking.
I just it's like I talk about my own life. There, in the last year, I've struggled with a number of different things that I've had to deal with that would be enough if I just looked at that. It'd be like, man, what a shitty year. But I also had a bunch of great things that would happen. And I know that those struggles have helped me and will help me in the future. That even though it sucks going through it, I'm going to learn something and get some information from it that's going to make me better able to deal with things in the future or help others do that.
Yeah, no, I agree with the mentality. I just don't think that applies to
I apply it to
the
everything.
government. When
I apply it to. I gotta have. I
It's hard
can't just.
to yourself. I think it's important.
Okay, I'm not disagreeing with you that it's not hard. I'm just saying I don't want to live where I have no hope. I gotta have some hope. And living with no hope is not something I want to do. That's not a mindset that I want to be in. It just isn't. In any area of my life, I want to have hope. And that's maybe a good segue into this next video, which I just picked up, and I saw another video where a black man was at one of the No King's Day protest, and these old ass white liberals, like over 60, they were so rude to this guy, and he wasn't nothing but nice. And these white ass liberals basically were accusing him of betraying his people, like, because all black people should think a certain way. And how insulting is that? I mean, and for black liberals, do you not get that? For black liberals, do you not get that the rest of the party thinks that your party that you're in, they think you're stupid. They think you can't get ahead without their help. You can't get into a good school. You can't have a good job. You can't be successful. You can never own a home without their help. You can't even get a fucking ID. You can't get an ID. That's how little they think of you. And that's what they want to control. And black conservatives scare the shit out of them. And especially ones that are very good at, well, listen to this. This girl's not crazy. I don't know who she is, Brianna Riddick, but compare how she talks to some of the squad members and how they talk. Compare those and how hysterical they are and how just clear and precise and smart this young woman is. So go ahead and play it. It's thinking.
Stop going to white liberals for money and then complaining about their power. Malcolm X said the white liberal is the worst enemy to America and the worst enemy to the black man. The white liberal's purpose is to perpetuate a system that will keep the black man dependent on the white liberal. Because the truth is, you can't be dependent and free at the same time. And that's the part nobody wants to say out loud, because once they control the way you think and what you depend on, they don't need chains anymore. But for just a minute, step outside of it. I challenge you. Let's do a little thought exercise. Look at this critically, not emotionally. That's where real freedom starts. Because the more you're emotionally attached to your race, the easier it is to control you. It's realizing we've confused education with indoctrination. The idea that we're inferior and therefore we must receive. That's the last stage of colonization, people. The last chain left on our minds, the insistence that we're inferior. Shelby Seal said inferiority was established through white superiority, and that white guilt has infantilized Black America, and it's allowed white liberals to act as our caretakers rather than our equals. And the more we tell white people they need to give in order to be racist, the more we'll receive, and the more we'll depend, and the more we'll reinforce the same lie that we're inferior. And it'll never stop. Because dependency isn't progress, it's slavery dressed up as compassion. Because when you depend on the system, you can't be controlled by it. And control is the opposite of freedom. Because freedom is never the reward for moral innocence, it's the reward for moral responsibility, Shelby Steele. The more you rely on them for a check, the more you'll vote for that check. You'll vote for what they call empowerment and assistance. It's not about progress. It's not about excellence. It's about profit and power and your vote. And all that time you spend scrolling, start reading what makes you uncomfortable. Not 3-minute videos that enforce the cage around your mind. Slavery was psychological, not just physical. Stop pointing fingers and asking for regression packaged in a reparations check. Change your mindset. Stop going.
That just is really, really good. And I like it. And I find stuff like this because when a white person says that, a white conservative says that, we're going to immediately be called a racist because that's just their go-to. But the real racism is on what she described. Keeping people down by keeping them dependent, which is all that this is about right now when we have the government shut down and the budget and the things that the president has done. And you have a lot of people that are just, including Black people, that are just over it. We had a period of time, you and I weren't here, we're not responsible for it, where things were different and not good, and they wanted to make up for it, and they tried, and those things haven't worked. And now, so we've had it where Black people were discriminated against, and to repair and make amends for that discrimination, we did reverse discrimination. And that's gone on now for over 40 years. And it hasn't worked. So what we want to do, what us conservatives want to do, and what we want to do no matter what color conservative we are, is we just want to go back to the merit, okay? We've tried to make these judgments on race, and now we just want to get back to, because what do we have to do? So how many years of unfairness were there for Black people? Do we have to have the exact same number of years? Is that what makes it equal? Or have we had enough now, and we think, as conservatives, that you have that power, you have that ability, that you can do it. You may not start out the same level, but there's white people not starting out at the same level either. That the issue is more class based on money than on race. And we need to fix that with education. At some point, we got to get to the education problem. That's the only way to fix things for people that live in the inner city and are facing these struggles. Is they have to be better educated so that they will be able to have better opportunities, whether or not they go to college. And they don't like Black conservatives who've made it without handouts. The Black liberals like to proudly proclaim that that's how they got an opportunity, and it's the only way you could get an opportunity. That maybe was true for a time. It's just not anymore, and it's not working, and people are over it. You're damaging people who had no part in this. I had no part in how someone was treated 175 years ago. I don't have, I'm not responsible from that. I don't know, being adopted and being Italian, I don't know when, so my people across the ocean to get here and try to make a new life here. I don't know when that happened. But I'm not responsible for that. And I don't want to pay the price for that. That would be like, and this has happened before, that would be like forcing a man who is with a woman to pay child support for a kid that DNA shows is not his and is the DNA of some other dude she fucked. That's what it would be like, forcing that person to pay for something he had nothing to do with, just because he's in the picture now. Nobody would agree that that's right or fair. And what does fairness mean? It means just. What is just? And there's no justice there. And I didn't start out with a bunch of advantages. And I also made mistakes along the way. But I kept striving to figure it out. And I probably have paid more for my education than most people who have gone to college. Because my real life world experience has cost me millions of dollars that I've lost. In an actual business, in property, in income, it's in the millions. My mistakes were costly. And sometimes I need to, I like to stay on the future, but it's always good to know where you came from. And I just, there is no way to equalize the starting point for everyone. If there is, tell me how you do that. Nobody's figured it out till now. And the only thing that can give you that opportunity is, well, you have to go get it yourself. You can't be dependent on state government, local government, or the federal government. You can't be dependent on them for your life. Now, they all have effects on our lives, and sometimes it's negative. And in a lot of those times, there's very little we can do about it. Should we try? Should we participate in the system? Should we vote? Absolutely. But you have to figure it out anyways. So Trump already said years ago in a debate with Hillary Clinton that the system, he agreed that the system is rigged. The system is rigged. You can't do shit about that. And it's not rigged because of capitalism. It's done in every kind of system. But this system gives you the best chance to be able to, even with that obstacle, do it anyways. You have to be able to do it anyways, and it does happen. And just like Leo is done by having his own house at his age, most young people are struggling to do that. But he still found a way to do it. Leo is, what I know about his family is it's a really good family and a very close-knit family that cares about family and in a way that is just not immediate family. That's what I've gotten from you. Am I correct? You have a pretty close family.
Depends on what you define as close.
Well, you tell me. How do you feel about your family?
I'd honestly rather not discuss that right now, to be honest with you.
Maybe I was wrong then. Maybe I was wrong.
I appreciate
That's okay.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I just hear you, talk about your mom and your dad and, your childhood.
I personally value family a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
Personally, I value family, for sure.
Okay.
Whether or not we're close, that we can We can skip over that part.
Well, like I have a sister I'm not close to at all. That kind of shit happens.
Exactly.
But,
But family,
this happens.
super important.
Super important.
That's for sure.
But your family, I wanted to get to the point where that you didn't have, your family did what they could do to provide for everyone, your dad, your mom. But you didn't have, they weren't wealthy. You didn't have a shit ton of advantages, right? I mean, I am right about that, right?
Yeah, you're correct.
Yeah, okay. And that's my point. That without those advantages, without going to, did you ever go to private school?
No.
If they could have saw your face, we should have had the camera on your face for that one, dude. That was so fucking funny. Yeah.
Private school, that's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, not a chance. My daughter did. My daughter did from even before kindergarten, was going to the best that we could find. The very, very best. She had that advantage. I didn't have that advantage. And I wanted so badly. I don't even know if my parents really knew. I so badly wanted to go to Cardinal Stritch. It was a Catholic school not far from me. And because they had it was really known as a really good school at the time, academically, and they had a great wrestling team. Gotcha. And man, I would have loved if I would have been able to go there. I think I would have done incredibly well. But I went to Genoa. We had some good teachers. We had some shitty teachers, like everybody has in their life. And you take what you can, and, then you got to figure it out. In fact, I had teachers put obstacles in my way where I was kept from being in the highest math class when I was in 6th grade. That's when they first started, dividing us up, was in 6th grade, into different levels. And I was at a level under the highest level. But the teacher I had was a good teacher. I didn't get moved up. Even though one quarter I had 100% on everything, every test, every quiz, every piece of homework, I had 100%. Now, I started that same way with the reading, and my big sister did too. We both got moved up to the highest reading after, because they would give us these tests and divide us up, and maybe we didn't make the cut on this test, but then in the real world, when the work started to be done, they saw, well, these two are pretty good. We're going to move them up. They did for reading, but they didn't do that for math. And that set a pattern for the rest of my life because of that. And that also put a chip on my shoulder. I had a chip on my shoulder that to make it anyways. That not one time did my parents ever talk to me about the possibility of going to college. Not one time did they say, Troy, we'd love for you to go, but we really can't help you. You're going to, we can fill out the forms. So maybe you can get some loans or grants and stuff. We can do that for you. But my parents never had a conversation literally about school with me like that. The only time my dad had a conversation was when I quit when I was a junior. And they let me quit. I was an official high school dropout for the last quarter of my junior year and through the summer until a teacher came and said, hey, Troy, be in my class and, you can graduate on time. And that's because of all the other work I had done the first 2 years that I was still able to do that. But my parents never had a conversation with me about school. Maybe sometimes my report card, okay, but not about looking for my future in life and things. I was on my own to provide my own motivation. So I'm used to being self-motivated. Some people aren't. Because that's the only choice I had. And I wasn't always self-motivated. But it was up to me. And I learned. And I used those lessons. And I looked and found mentors, and I read and I pursued, but I went after it, not knowing what I was even going after. I just know that I wasn't going to, that I could do something really good. I was meant to do something really good, and I was going to figure it out, and I was going to be able to use it and say, fuck you, I did it without a college education. Educated myself. And you can laugh at that all you want. It's true. I don't find a whole lot of people, you know, I feel like I can hang with most people that are at the top. I'm not intimidated. I don't have any fear about that. Wow, this person has this degree and, you know, I don't, so maybe they know more than me. No. I've had debates with attorneys. I've had debates with doctors. I feel very confident in what I know. And I also feel confident in what I don't know. And I don't try to pretend I know something when I don't. That's where you get fucked up. So you don't want to do that. But there's no way. All you can do is have the shackles off. All you can do is have the freedom to pursue. And you're going to have to start wherever you fucking have to start. But, you know, just because it's, think about it, because I like to compare things to sports. Look up where do the Toronto Blue Jays land as far as payroll this past season? If we rank the Major League Baseball by revenue spent on players this season, where are the Blue Jays? Because I want to use that, because I don't know if they're near the top like the Dodgers are. I don't know if they're at the middle. I don't know if they're at the bottom. And look where the Brewers, how good the Brewers did this year. And the Brewers, I bet they're not near the top. 5th out of 30 teams. Dodgers are number 1. And then, but ask about the Brewers too. I'm interested in that.
$22nd.
22nd. And they almost made it. They almost made it, man. At 22nd, they almost made it to the World Series. So the highest payroll, you know, the Dodgers are in there. That, you know, that payroll helped them get there, but it's not a guarantee. And I think that's a good contrast. The Toronto Blue Jays aren't the absolute lowest, but they're definitely at the low end, in the bottom 25%, for sure.
The Brewers?
Yeah. At 22nd, that's the bottom 25%.
Yeah.
So they're there, and the Brewers made it to the conference championship game, and made it to the end. I mean, the series went the full length, right? I was pretty sure it did. Yeah. Yeah, just if you hit the playoff standings, yeah, probably does that. The Mariners, I bet the Mariners weren't near the top either. What's that? Yeah, that's just regular season, isn't it? But it is, you know, it is my point. The Steelers have the highest paid defense right now, and they're performing like shit. We're not even the top half of the league right now on defense with the highest paid defense. And the Steelers aren't normally a team to spend that kind of money. Oh, I was wrong. They swept them. But still, they beat the Cubs.
Padres.
And the Padres. Yeah. I mean, the Dodgers kind of just kicked it up a notch in that.
They're ridiculous, honestly.
Yeah.
Are doing way too good.
Yeah.
This honestly might be a sweep too.
I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think I've told you my neighbor, Chris Bassett's going to be playing in the World Series.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's fucking sick.
Yeah, it is. And the whole town's talking about it. I can tell from Facebook and stuff. And everybody has always backed this kid. It's hard to believe this kid that I lived next to for 12 years
Give me the World Series.
is 36 now. He's like 5 years older than my daughter. And he's really at tail end of his career. And we followed it from the very beginning. And he had to work his way up from the very, very bottom of the minor leagues. The very, very bottom. Like it was, he didn't get to start out at the AAA. He started out at like the rookie league, and then I think
Like
I don't know
climbed up.
single, yeah, and so and had issues, had the Tommy John surgery and stuff, but he just kept performing and kept going at it, and it finally paid off for him, and he became one of the pitchers that would be number 2 or number 3 on most rotations. Not the superstar,
Yeah.
but just under the superstar,
Yeah.
you know?
Like they get a good amount of games.
Way
but,
better than average. Because, look, to have the length of career that he's had, too, is
Impressive.
fantastic. And we've had a couple of professional athletes come from our town. We had an NHL player sometime back.
Ohio?
And from my town in Genoa. Specifically.
Okay.
I
I was about to say Ohio.
dude, it's
was
a
like
20. No, dude, there's
yeah.
2,200 people in my town.
Gotcha. You're talking about the, okay.
Another kid that a few years younger than him, you could look him, Michael Dieter. He plays, I believe, for the Redskins now. He played for the Dolphins for quite a number of years, and he went to Wisconsin for football and did really well at Wisconsin. And
Commanders.
yep. Yeah, see, I was right. He plays for Washington now. Yeah. Good kid, good family. Both of them are. The Bassetts were fantastic. Some of the best neighbors I've ever had. They were really, really good people. And I'm talking not just in the same neighborhood. I'm like, they lived literally next door.
Yeah.
Like that. So just totally stoked for him. So, you know, I want to see Ohtani do real well. That's, you know, I love just seeing that and following that and seeing what he can do, especially since he's finally broke through in the playoffs. So that'll be really neat. But I really don't like the city of Toronto. And I was actually going to get a Blue Jays hat because he was also on the Mets and the White Sox. And I have hats of those teams in kind of support of Chris because I followed his career, and the A's. He also played for the A's. So I followed that and have those hats. And so I was going to get a Blue Jays hat. And just how Canada's been so shitty this past year, I really didn't want a Toronto hat. But I was thinking about it the other night, putting that aside because that's not as important as supporting a local young man who's like, it's a big thing from such a small town, you know?
I get that.
Yeah, everybody. So I hope he does really well. He was out for the division series and then the championship series. He did play. I think he played in the very last game. He pitched. He normally is a starting pitcher, but with the injury stuff, he may or may not get a start in the series, but he's going to be used. Yeah, he's going to get used for sure. And it could be a start. It just depends. He tends to do better, I think, against left-handers. And if they do use him, they're going to use him in Toronto. His record this year is much better in Toronto, and his ERA is way lower than away games. Yeah, like there's a significant difference. So if he does get a start, it's going to be in Toronto. Yeah, I researched all that. Like, what's the probability? How they going to use Chris? And it was really neat. So, you know, God bless him and that family. And what a great thing to happen for them. And to say you win or lose, to say you played in a World Series, man, people just don't. That's such a dream. I just I love sports. I always have. So, that's kind of how I feel about that. All right. So we're doing the white liberals, right? So now that we're on Canada, I actually saw this commercial and then looked it up. And then within a day of me seeing this commercial, the shit hit the fan. And it really made me angry. Do we have the Reagan commercial?
Ontario launches 75 campaign.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, some people were saying 75,000 this morning. What I read was 75 million. And that makes more sense that it's 75 million for this ad that they were using in Toronto. And the Canadian government was, they've been negotiating with Trump again. Trump had called off the negotiations, I think, back in June, and recently started up the negotiations again. You even had the Prime Minister of Canada here, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks ago. It wasn't very long ago. And they were making jokes and stuff, but getting to the seriousness of this. And look, I'm a big fan of Reagan. Always have been. My favorite president of all time was Ronald Reagan. And how the Canadian used this ad and using Ronald Reagan's words is such a lie, because there is no way that, well, let's see the video first so you can see, and then it'll be easier for me to explain. I don't think it's too long. What's that?
I think it's just a minute.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
When someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. But over the long run, such trade barriers hurt every American worker and consumer. High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign fierce trade wars. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. Throughout the world, there's a growing realization that the way to prosperity for all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition. America's jobs.
Skipping again. There we go.
Get that last.
I don't know if the actual speech was like that or if they clipped anything from it, and it really doesn't matter. We're good. That's enough. But I do know this. What Ronald Reagan believed is what all conservatives believed back then and what we were for. We were for free trade. And I guess fair trade was just a given. You have to remember, Reagan was the one that said trust but verify. So if you make an agreement with another nation that you're going to reduce your nuclear weapons, you want to trust them, but you want to have a mechanism in place where you can actually verify that they're following through and doing it, right? That just telling me you're going to do it isn't enough. We need to prove it to each other, both sides, that it's actually happening. And free trade is great. See, we thought at the time that everybody would do that it would benefit everyone. But that's not what happened. We opened up to everyone in the world, but they put tariffs on us or controlled what we were sending them and making it difficult, if not impossible, to sell. Like, it's just almost impossible to sell an American-made car in Japan, and it's not because of the quality. It's simply because the cost is it just doesn't provide value because they make it so hard to be able to do. And Reagan was right. There is retaliation. And that's what we're finally doing. Everybody was doing it to us, so we're finally retaliating and say, we're going to do back to you what you did to us. And Trump has specifically said, if you open up trade to us, we'll not tariff your shit. You can send us shit. And then there might be some other issues because of currency or other things that you're doing to make it impossible. We need to work on that too. It's not just tariffs. It's like a package kind of a deal. But I would rather not do this. I'd rather it go back and forth because that's how we could, as mankind, how we could move ahead the best and the fastest if we each did the best of what we were at and let other people do what they were good at and then trade. But if you don't do something anymore, then the problem is that you become reliant on the other people, and they can use that as leverage and fuck you. And this goes all the way back to, there was a time when, I had an issue with this. I just remember sugar farmers. And you have, I believe, sugar cane, you have sugar beets. And we pay some of the highest amounts for sugar in this country. And with all the sugar that, good Lord, that they put in shit, you would think it was dirt cheap. It's not. We pay some of the highest prices in the world for sugar. And we have tariffs on sugar coming into this country so that we can support our sugar farmers. And at the time, what I believed was, fuck them. If you can't make a profit raising that as a farmer, then maybe you need to raise something else. That if somebody else is doing it cheaper, do that. Because when you promote one group, you discriminate against another group. And you know who the group was that took the hit when it comes to costs? The businesses that use sugar and put it in candy and put it into foods and stuff. They're paying those higher prices because they can't get sugar cheaper. Like you can get, there was and at the time, I don't remember the name of the sugar company off the top of my head, but they moved their headquarters from, it was a big, well-known candy company, like big, that moved from like Chicago to Canada. And the reason they did it is because sugar was way cheaper in Canada. Yeah, it's a well-known candy name. Yeah. Well, they didn't move to Panda, and it was candy. I don't know if it's an old name in candy that's really well-known. And it was probably 20, 25 years ago that it happened. No, it was high sugar prices. See, it's talking about chocolate because you put chocolate in there. But same thing with the chocolate too, right? Yeah. See, it thinks you're looking for a company named Panda. And so now it's looking at Japanese shit. That's so funny. Let's see if this one does better. It's thinking, oh, why can't I remember it? It's a short name. It's not a long name. Super well known. Fuck. I can't believe it's still thinking. Why is it thinking this long?
I think my computer is not having a good time.
All right, it's giving us an answer. It said several have done that.
I was about to say, because I do remember
It was a long time ago. So Hershey did that, and that was actually recently. No, it wasn't Bloomer Chocolate Company. It's still your thing is still thinking chocolate. Oh, let's see. Yeah, but see, they did the same thing. So it's more than one, dude. Oreos, no. This is so funny. All right. I'm going to have to get involved here. It's done giving the names, right? All right, let's do this. what company that used to be in Chicago, a well-known candy company for many, many years that maybe even 20 years ago moved to Canada because of high U.S. sugar prices. We'll see if mine works faster.
Probably, be honest.
But you still pulled something interesting. It gives the name of Ferrara, but that was not it. It's not Ferrara. It's a short name and like a well-known legendary name in candy in the U.S. And I don't know how far back it was, but it's been a minute. Let's see if it'll give me a different answer. That's going to bug me because it's going to, middle of the day today, the name's going to come to me while I'm fucking driving. That kind of shit happens.
I also got Ferrara Pan candy.
Yeah. Lifesavers. No, it wasn't Lifesavers. Here it goes. If you actually meant a Chicago candy maker that left because of U.S. sugar prices, that was Brock's. Brock's Candy. Brachs. Brock's Candy. And actually, they moved to Mexico, not Canada.
Oh.
But I knew they moved.
Gotcha.
But that was the one. Brock's. It's like an old name in candy, you know? Not one that you would necessarily know off the top of your head, but, you know, the kind of candies that would be in the little twisted wrappers, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like grandparents would give you.
Yeah, like taffy.
Yeah,
almost.
kind of like that. Stuff like that. And that was back in 2003, so I was right about the time, too. But we got off track searching for that because I wanted to know. I hate not knowing stuff when you can actually know now. But the cool thing about our search here is it didn't affect just one company. It affected multiple companies, right? So how many thousands of jobs left this country because we wanted to protect a handful of sugar farmers in Florida? And I remember that because I remember Marco Rubio voting to protect sugar farmers. And I remember talking about it on the radio years ago in Toledo. So it was an issue. So going back to the Ronald Reagan thing, that's what he meant. He did believe in free trade. We believe in free trade. Conservatives believe in free trade. We also know that trade has to be fair. And if that trade isn't fair, then why is it if tariffs are so bad and people bitching about it, and it's just the liberals bitching about it, and you don't know shit about tariffs if you think 100% of the cost of the tariffs is being passed on to the consumer, because it's not. We have the evidence. It's not. We've had some products go up a little bit where 10 to 20% might be passed on, and we've had others where there's been no. And inflation-wise, we've had some products go up and some products go down, and when you level everything out, it's been fairly level. The system is figuring it out. And we'd love to have what Ronald Reagan said. But we can't be the only ones participating in that. If other countries want to sign up for that, which is what Trump offered, great, let's do that. But if they don't, we can't keep getting screwed like we have been for several decades now. Going back a minute. Going back to the kind of thing here, you know, in the 80s under Reagan, and, you know, then we let China, you know, in to the big club, and what that's done to us since. We've taken some hits. And that's not America first. We don't owe these other countries. You can't tell me tariffs are good for every other country on us, but they're bad if we do the same thing back to them. I'm sorry. There's no good explanation you can give me of how that would be fair and just and reasonable and something that we should continue doing. That's a non-starter with me. Non-starter. And I would rather we have those relationships, but there are certain items that we just have to protect no matter what, we're finding out. Because of national security, because of emergencies like we had with COVID, that we have to have certain things we need to keep in production here. We can't ship everything out to everyone else. That can't be a thing. And Trump, like Reagan, wanted the world to do better. The world to do better. But that can't happen at our expense. And so Trump, because of this commercial coming out, has now called off the talks with Canada. And I think he was right to do so. And the Reagan Foundation is slamming them for using this video without permission and using it improperly. Not in the real context that it was meant to be used. Way, way different. That's not what he meant. He didn't mean for us to get screwed. He meant for everybody to do that. And that's not what was happening. So, where are we at? Oh, wow. We've gone on for a minute, huh? We certainly, all right. I guess that's pretty good. The Dodgers and the Blue Jays tonight kick things off for the World Series. We'll be paying attention to that. Dawn and I are going to the Arizona State game tomorrow. Looking forward to that. They play Houston. And then my Steelers play the Packers this weekend. So Aaron Rodgers going up against his old team. I don't know if he's done that before. I feel like he has since he left, but I could be wrong about that. But it'll still be cool, I think. So good luck to my Steelers. Packers, another time for you, my friend. You snuck one out against the Cardinals. Hopefully we're not the Cardinals. All right. We'll be back with more on Monday. Be sure to check us out on Instagram if you want to send me a message. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and X. Pass on some of our clips. We're posting a lot of content everywhere right now. Leo's pushing some stuff out. He's sending it to me. I'm pushing it out as best and as fast as I can to different platforms. Sometimes you'll see the same thing on a couple different platforms. Some I'll just target for certain areas. So that's a good way to introduce somebody to the show. Hit that subscribe button for us, too. Have a great weekend. God bless. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy.
Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believe me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic gotta say. I got them picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing with your life. I'm about to come and run it all back. I'm the new era, about to snap back. You ain't fitting.